just waking up, we're going to give you this Fox News alert to kind of give you an understanding of where we are right now in the investigation of Nancy Guthrie. A man has been detained in connection with Guthrie's disappearance after law enforcement released video and images of a masked man outside her home the night she went missing. So let's take a look at some of the major pieces of this puzzle. And it is indeed a puzzle right now, although we're getting more and more pieces. First off, this came in yesterday. Newly discovered images and video from the doorbell camera. Some things to point out. Look at the thickness of those gloves. This is what he's doing when he realizes there's a camera there. He goes to the shrubs, picks it up as if to say, hey, don't look at this. But meanwhile, can he figure out that that moment when he gets the shrubs and walks up, you're on camera and is indeed taping? And here's one of the biggest mistakes he can make. Oh, okay, one more other thing. Notice the gun right there across his middle, across his crotch. The question is, you can't really drive with a gun like that, so uncomfortable. So maybe investigators are saying to themselves, he put this whole thing together, his coat and the gun, after he got out of the car. That could help you with surveillance video, red light cameras, and other things. Also, the jacket's very distinctive. You could go to Amazon, others. Who else sells jackets like that in the region? Who came through? Let me see your video. This is another thing that's quite important. Also, the thickness of the gloves and the backpack. The backpack is full. Now, if you're a burglar, the backpack would most likely be empty. Why would that be full? Why would you take that in? What tools do you need? You're already getting into the house. Here's the biggest mistake, ironically, that he made. He goes up and eventually rips off the Nest camera. Why is that important? Because when the Nest camera gets ripped off, they stop over-recording previous moments. Yes, she didn't have a subscription that she kept up with, $10 a week, $100 a month. But when you rip the Nest camera up, it actually stops looping. So they're able to go and say, what was the last images that Nest camera had? Google helped out a series of ways. It could have been a warrant to go see it. They could have decided to volunteer and give the information. Bottom line, they got it. We can all see it. And this is what they're saying is on the porch. And we see this. You can even see this from the naked eye. You see blood. It goes back to Nancy. This is her blood on the porch. The question is, which we don't know, but investigators do, how much of her blood is on the inside so we could see what type of struggle actually took place. Others speculate when you get to an older age, if you're on blood thinners, it doesn't take much for you to bleed. And then we know about 2:10 in the morning, that's when the pacemaker disconnected from the Bluetooth and from the phone. And this is what's important. It's not that someone violently took it. It's just when you get out of range, just like your AirPods, just like your phone, when it gets out of range, it stops transmitting. And we know there's a couple of ransom notes out there. There's still questions. Is it related to a guy that picks up shrubs to block a camera? At the same time, can you put together a Bitcoin ransom note that people say is perfect English, that makes perfect sense? So our next guest knows all about the high-profile missing persons cases. We'll just first bring in retired Detective Jon Buehler, investigating the Laci Peterson case. So I guess first off, Jon, your thoughts about what you know right now, knowing that we had a person of interest named Carlos, talked to the press. It wasn't me, but he does deliver packages in the area. Doesn't recall exactly if he went to her house.
Yeah, I like the fact that they got a guy at least identified as a potential, and it shows that they're doing a thorough investigation by looking at traffic cameras, cameras on residences, commercial buildings, and things like that. So they're on the right track. Of course, they're not releasing everything that they have. That wouldn't be wise. But in the meantime, just the fact that they released the guy doesn't signal to me anything bad. There could be some good that comes from that. The people that are involved in this might start getting nervous because now they know something's onto them, especially with the heavy splash of coverage from yesterday with the images that you're showing right now. That should give them pause and start worrying about it.
So if I gave you that information, which we all now have, people notice the gait, they notice what he's wearing or she. They could also notice his eyes. And some have said if you are an experienced hitman or experienced burglar or criminal, you just wear glasses in order to cover up any situation, cover up as much of your body as possible and stop a retina scan or a facial recognition from going to work, right?
Yeah, and it's these guys they're certainly not stupid, but they're also not the faculty of MIT when it comes to putting these things together. They're going to miss some certain things on that. And like you pointed out earlier, Brian, the fact that he goes up to the camera and a camera's there, and then he has to go out and get some shrub parts from the yard to cover it up. It pretty much shows his original check of the area, or whoever he's working with to check the area, didn't even think about the camera. And how would you not think about that in this day and age? Because pretty much everybody has one of those.
If it was you, John, and I just said, okay, this is the video, no sound, just isolated, check it out in your house, what are the first things that you want the audience to know about this that don't have your investigative experience?
Well, just like anything else, it's a dangerous world. Not everywhere, but danger, you never know when it's going to come up to you. So doors locked is always a good thing. In a situation like this, having a camera is a good thing because it does dissuade some people from trying to do some things that maybe are not legal. If she saw this in the house, which I don't think she did because I couldn't see her opening the door, I haven't heard anything about forced entry into the house or anything like that. But they are able to determine directionality from blood spots on the pavement and on the pavers when she was taken away from the residence, so they'd be able to show that. But in addition to that, the ransom notes that you were talking about earlier are a little bit concerning because it's really difficult to determine if somebody's playing a fraud on that or if it's actually a sincere ransom note. Those are the things that pop out at me when I'm looking at these things.
And what's the first thing you would do now, today, as the sun comes up?
Well, if I'm working the case, I would have a team of guys trying to trace down the jacket, the backpack, certainly one that's got the little reflectors on the shoulder straps, things like that. Your analysis of the backpack being filled up when he comes to the residence, I think, is very accurate because if he's coming there for a property crime, he's not going to have a full backpack. Clothing doesn't help me too much as far as the size of the guy because he might have several layers of clothing on there. But another thing that maybe people are missing is if you have a friend that could be the same age, race, and physical of this guy, where's he been for the last week? Where's he been for the last 9 days? Has he been gone or absent and you haven't seen him for a while? These are the little things that we look for. It's not always the thing that you see in front of you. It's what you don't see that can lead to the rapid conclusion of a case like this.
Yeah, and you do get to see him walk, or her walk. And they say mustache and they say eyebrows that are somewhat manicured. So that's pretty distinctive. You get rid of a mustache, but the eyebrows aren't going to grow up, grow out.
Yeah, precisely on that. If you're manicuring those, it kind of suggests something. Maybe it was an intentional disguise on his part. Hard to know for sure on that. But one of the big things that I'd be looking for is who's absent in people's lives and what reason would be for them to be gone from their normal activities. There's where your potential suspect is. Another good thing about the video is it helps the authorities eliminate people from suspicion. There might be somebody that's on their radar, and when they see that video, they go, "Oh, that doesn't match at all," so they can kind of lessen the priority on looking into that person.
All right. John, great stuff. Jon Buehler, thank you very much, and we'll stay on top
Thanks,
of this.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.